this.
Okay.
And we got this. We got this. We got this. Hey, Jared here from soundguitarlessons.com. I taught guitar lessons for 20 years. I started teaching guitar when I was about 18 years old, and 2 years ago or so, I stopped teaching private lessons because I was working on my YouTube channel and I have my courses and really excited about making the videos and the tutorials that reach way more people, and I've really enjoyed this process very much. Recently, though, I had an idea, which was to maybe try to have a real lesson with a real student who wants help on the guitar and film it for the YouTube channel. So a student of mine from a long time ago, last time I saw him was about 10 years ago, I had taught him for a few years and then he moved away, and he is in Scotland right now. And he reached out asking if I do Zoom lessons, and I wanted to jump on the opportunity to just test this out. This is an experiment where I said, hey, let's do a lesson, let's film it for the channel, because whatever you need help with, probably a lot of other people could use the same help as well. So we went for it, and that's what this video is. This is my student Alex from many years ago, and he's been playing music since I saw him last. He's playing in a couple groups and just playing on his own and practicing, and he's playing a lot of jazz, and he wanted help with comping over the tune Footprints by Wayne Shorter, and comping in general, how to get ideas, how to get sounding more fluent and having more variety in his comping over a tune like Footprints. And I think if you're interested in jazz and you're interested in some advice on making your comping kind of come alive and have more variety and have more interactivity to it, then I think you will benefit from this lesson. Here it is. Alex, awesome to see you. What can I help you with today? Share anything you want, what you're working on, what you're struggling with, and we'll get you something today that you can walk away with and hopefully help your playing. So
thanks. Yeah, great seeing you again, Jared. Where I feel that my playing is lacking most is my comping is just a bit lackluster. I find that I get stuck into the same sort of shapes and patterns, and each chorus passes and I'm just playing the same progression in the same positions every time. I'm finding it hard to break out of the mold, and I want to find ways of just making it a bit more colorful, adding substitutions, things like that, passing notes. That could really improve for sure.
Just for context for people watching, you shared with me a video of a gig that you were, or not a gig, but a kind of a demo video to try to get gigs with a group. And I hear what you're talking about in that comping, kind of like, here's what I comp every time. But I just want to say it's also an excellent thing to have focused on, here's what works and now I can use it in a real band. Because a lot of us can get hung up on, I need to know all the things and then not have any one thing that actually works, not have any one simple thing that like, okay, at least I can use this one thing. So I think that you're on the right track in doing that. And I'd recommend anyone who doesn't have that, I can at least do this one thing and actually go play in the real world, then just focus on that one thing. Even if you feel like you're a phony, just do that to get into the playing, and then now you're at this amazing spot where we can make it feel more alive for you with more options. So excellent setup, and I appreciate hearing all of that. Let's just address each item with the comping. You mentioned substitutions, passing chords, stuff like that. I hear two different things happening here. One is you're stuck in playing the same thing every time, and two is you want more interesting options. Those are actually separate things, because think about how I could show you you can add this little tritone substitution right before the resolution here, and you'll be like, oh, that's a cool spicy sound that I can add in now. But then maybe you'll just do it the same every time also, right? Like, so we can get into ruts we can learn some new amazing colorful thing and just get into that same rut of now I just always play this, and now I lost a connection with when and why and how it functions and doing it because I want to express something, and now I just do it. Which also, again, not a bad place to be. We're getting the practice of doing that. We just want so many of those that it feels like at our fingertips to choose a few of them. And I said so many and then a few, but really just like 3 different options goes a long way. You can have so many kind of combinations of what you play. So happy to show you options like that, separate from the color, substitutions, alternate chords and stuff like that. That's really cool stuff that, like I said, is a little separate. Right away, and we'll have you play a little bit here too. Right away, though, I feel like we're going to talk about just simply having more chord voicing options, period. Even if it's the same chord and not adding this kind of extra substitution texture that you might want, because you can always add that later. We'll talk about a couple of those. But if for every chord you have simply just inversion options, and then get kind of physically a good feel with kind of jumping between those with whatever groove or feel that you have on the guitar, that right there then can feel suddenly like, oh, I'm actually improvising now. So let's get into the real stuff here. Play for us kind of what you might do that feels like this is what I do every time, and shift your camera a little bit so we can see the guitar.
Yeah. So I'd be playing this behind the violinist who would be playing the melody, and I would be playing just like this. Just repeating that.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome. I love what you're doing. Are you aware of what's happening harmonically, theoretically, when you do that?
Yeah, more or less. I'm playing the minor 7 chord,
Yeah.
and then I'm shifting up to the, to the D minor, but just as a sort of passing. Before going back to the same chord.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe throwing in a minor 6 somewhere as well. What's written in the chart here is minor 11, which I don't typically play that one. Just because I think it sounds a little muddy sometimes.
Sure. Yeah. And just, use what you like the sound of. Absolutely. The minor 11 is just optional. This is an interesting, unique case. And I did a few videos on So What recently. So I talked about modal, comping over modal stuff. This is the same situation here. C minor is the chord. It says C minor 11 because that's the easiest way in the language of typical harmonic chord symbols with tertiary chords like 1, 3, 5, 7 to try to represent really what is a quartal chord, which is like a modal type of chord that's built in fourths instead. And these two worlds can just kind of like totally overlap, and that's fine. What you're doing right now is you're playing C minor to that D minor, and then occasionally that C minor 6. All of that is just C Dorian, all of it. Right. Because if you think of C Dorian, the 2 chord of a key, and then the 3 chord of a key is a whole step up, so you're still just in that exact mode. All those notes are from the major scale, the parent scale of B flat major, and then same with C minor 6 is also just using that kind of Dorian flavor note right there. So all of that is from there, and that's really why it works. And it sounds great, and I like the sound of what you're doing. But our goal here, and it could be anything you like the sound of, but our goal here is to have options, and you can test out anything that is kind of inside Dorian and see what you like, right? And I think one's goal in your situation should be, can I have my one thing I do, and can I have like 2 other things, so 3 things total that I can kind of mix and match. And so we're going to talk about those kind of options, but also mutating the thing, kind of evolving the thing that you're doing already. Just be like, okay, well, I like that. So let's do this option first. There's getting 2 separate options, which we want to do. And then we want to kind of have branches of what we're already doing. So an easy win here is to take other voicings of the same thing you're doing. That alone, actually, I would say for all of us is the best, easiest, quickest win to go to make it feel like, oh, we're really fluidly, like not just doing the same thing and just jumping around. So imagine you go to, and then even just the two, what did we do? We took the bottom string note and we put it up to the top, and that's it. So you were playing the C minor 7 and now C minor 7 like this. Is that an inversion that you are easily familiar with? Like
Yeah.
you use that, right? But
Sure.
so you maybe were obviously familiar with it theoretically, structurally, guitar-wise, fretboard-wise, but not in the song jumping to it, right? So then the practice is just cool. Step one: can I? You've just doubled your flow of what feels repetitive. And then don't forget this.
Yeah.
Yep, and you can alternatively, use all the tips of your fingers on that. Right. If I was playing on one chord only and not moving those voicings, and like this kind of groove, maybe on like a bossa tune or something, and then I just had... I suddenly make it double its value, Okay, can we triple
It's such a simple solution. I never thought of it before.
Voicings, just inversions, right? Just voicings, inversions of the same thing. So we doubled the value. Can we triple the value? And what do we hear usually? We usually hear a top note, right? Like the listener is going to hear a top note and then kind of a texture underneath. So, okay, same notes, but we just really made it sing differently by just putting a different note on the top. Okay, so now all you got to do to say, let's triple that, is take another kind of obvious go-to type of or version of C minor 7. So let's just go to the number one option of all time that someone would go to as far as movable chord shapes. This C minor and this C minor, like the most go-to ones. Okay. Now what do you got here? Yeah. Okay. We might not come to that solution on our own because it feels like a cop-out. Like, oh, I'm just playing C minor here and now I'm playing C minor here. But if it feels or sounds even slightly different, then it feels then it adds that aliveness to what we want. It has a different note on the top. So now we have this note on the top. We have this note on the top. And now we have this note on the top. All of them have a different little perspective on that tiny harmony moment, right? The 5 on top, the root on top, the 3rd on top. Let's go ahead and do one more. That is the flat 7 on top, because why not? Because we're doing 1 3 5 7 at this point. Okay, so any voicing with flat 7 on top, it could be like a shell voicing like this. Isn't that a nice feel? Yeah.
Yeah, those the 3-note voicings I was talking about from before.
Totally. And it's and I did a video on that, just like how to play any jazz chord with 8 shapes, because that's what it comes down to. And that's like one of my most popular videos on the channel.
That's exactly how I remember you teaching it. Actually, it was like how to play any song, even if you don't know what that chord is.
Yeah. I said you want 3 options. We have 4 now, and let's go with the 4. Check it out. We got this.
Okay.
And we got this. We got this. We got this. Notice I'm mixing it up now. This chord, and then this one, this chord, and then maybe this one, this one. Okay, so even if all you did was this groove that is, it could be anything. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But even if you took exactly that, I'm going up a whole step. You just made different voicings, right? Mm-hmm. And everything is intuitive as far as, does this feel nice to me? You didn't like the sound of minor 11. Great, don't use it. So there's just a heads up for kind of a reminder for all of us not to get in our head about, oh, but this is such a basic voicing. Who cares? If it feels good, it feels good. Use it, so explore these and don't overthink, oh, well, that's just another voicing of the same. Great. Does it feel slightly different even? Does that help you, do something spur of the moment while being in that groove that you want to be in? Does that make sense? So that alone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just simply different voicings and in different inversions. And there's so many more than that. It's easy to get overwhelmed by this. So as soon as we're overwhelmed, just stop and get used to the, one thing works. So great, just get used to 2 for a while and you'll feel that's double. That's huge, right? So then maybe 3 things. So what I think a lot of us do, because I've felt it and I hear from a lot of people, now I got to learn all the inversions, and now I got to learn. It's like, well, then you're never going to play the gig. The gig's not going to happen. Like, just get comfortable with those extra little ones. But just to, for the future's sake, simple things like taking the root here and putting it on the 5, where now it's a shell voicing, but the root is gone and the 5 is below. Just like little tweaks. Also change the sound significantly. Yeah, right.
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 It's a nice sound.
Right. Here's one other tweak. Taking this root of the C minor 7 shell voicing, this is 1, flat 3, flat 7, and putting it up an octave to here, and now you have an inversion of a shell voicing, flat 3, flat 7 root. The way that I practice this is I'll just stay on 1, all of those were C minor 7, not even extensions, anything. Yeah, and little melodies come out, right? It starts to be almost chord melody-like, right? Which is kind of like another evolution of it. But does that make sense? Like, so I'm just like jumping. Okay, shell, maybe add the 9. So that also would work if you're not even going up to that other whole step at this point. I just was doing all, but that would work great. That would also work great.
Yeah, there really seems like there's a lot of movement happening, even though you're staying in the same chord.
Absolutely. Okay, so inversions, jumping around between them, finding a bunch of the same chord. In your case, we had kind of 2 things we were going to, and so we just did, up whatever you do, up a whole step, right? But if we're doing a standard tune, same thing, just more voicings, more options, but one at a time. Get better to just feel like I can go play the gig with 1 and feel like I'm faking it and everyone hates it, but I'm playing the same thing every time, which no one notices anyway, and it sounds good. And then add a second and do that for real, and then add a third and do that for real. Just I'm reiterating that because otherwise we just will never learn it all, right? Get used to the things that sound good and just do one little bit at a time. There's all kinds of voicings I'm not playing that I never play that I don't know. Well, I know theoretically what they would be, but my hands don't go to them, right? So because I just haven't added them into that mix. But why do I need to if I feel like I have like 10, you saw me jumping around all those voicings, like that does the trick for me. Next phase here is that because it's modal, now's the modal part, because it's modal, you can go to anything in that mode, right? You went up a whole step to this. You could start playing with voicings of B flat major 7. The bass player is taking care of the root sound, right? Right? You might not want that sound, but my point is it could work because it's another chord that's in the mode. Because you can explore those as you want, right? You could say, oh, let me try E flat major 7. It's in the key. It's in the parent scale that it's from. And what are inversions of that? Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. You could bounce around between those. So you could do that homework if you want, or any of us could do that homework if we want. But I'm skating through it so I could get to the modal stuff. The Quartal harmony chord shapes are stacked fourths. And you got, let's do this off of C. 3rd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, strings 4 through 2.
That's the minor 11 shape, isn't it? essentially.
Exactly. That's why it's called minor 11. It's not really minor 11. It's just like, how do we kind of make it chordal? The way I think of it is this little hub of whole step, that alone, this like, that shape from the 3rd fret, 5th fret, and 7th fret. Just go back to those. 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. Yeah, awesome. That alone, groove on that like crazy. And then when it goes to the F minor chord in the progression, same thing off of F. Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. So now imagine 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. How much motion is that, right? Add that to some of that other stuff, and like you're playing this. You're truly accompanying whatever else is happening. There's a little bit of melody in there. There's a lot of, so you have so many things you can do that you can really actually react. And of course it takes time to kind of get those baked into your playing. So, but always keep it simple by default and listen. And then just like, if something happens that makes you feel like, there's a little space, you can jump into there.
Yeah.
So now I know I'm flying through stuff, but let's address the, substitution thing. All I would give you at this point, since there's so much in this already, is to just think of half steps. It'll give you a little crunch, give you a little anticipation sound, a little dissonance, and you can do it quickly like that, so then it just sounds like a passing tone blues kind of thing in that case. Any of it, so you don't want to sit on them necessarily, but it'll work any direction. You go slide into it, go into it, whatever. Same goes for the normal chords. No harm in master the half step away before thinking about the actual harmony change. Like, this should be some other, particular function of this substitution. It's just like, now get really good at, does your body want that feel of tension? Master being able to jump to the half step thing, and you can later turn it into thinking of it as something specific, like a tritone substitution or some sort of function or something like that. But imagine just this like normal one you're doing. Quite nice, right? Or just half step below. It's like, wow. It's like, who cares that all those notes are outside of it? They're just resolving, right away, right? Just like in a solo where you might, you might pass well, why not? Why not with chords as well?
Okay.
Is anything it's a ton. I threw a ton at you. Is anything missing from all of that as far as any remaining questions about that tune in particular?
I guess one thing is when the chords change, especially in the last 8 bars there, finding voicings that and rhythms as well that are similar enough to what I was playing before that it's not jarring of a switch, whilst it's seeming coherent and not far away. I find that sometimes I'll be playing this rhythm, let's say, and then when the F sharp's coming up, I'm like, just because of the shapes that I'm forced to play, because it's the only ones that I know, I'm locked into a certain rhythm every time, and it's rhythm. Far from, Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the first thing I want to say about this is that I think we often perceive a problem, or we often perceive something like that to be more of a problem than it is, right? So what you played there didn't sound off to me at all, but you're kind of presenting it as if it's a problem, right? What could be, that doesn't devalue kind of your desire to, feel more proficient at it or have other options, but that alone was great. Right, that sounded fine, and so that sounds like, okay, that's your one thing that you go to. Were you having a problem with the voicings, or were you having a problem with the rhythm that you were using, or both?
I only really know one shape for these chords, and because they're right there, yeah, exactly, they're all right next to each other,
and they sound great.
Yeah, they sound good, but it ends up sounding the same on each repetition, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so one... Yeah, no, I get you. So, respect those chords for what they are. They sound good. There's nothing wrong with those. It's just that it's the same every time, right? Rhythm-wise, let's address that first. Just practice that with the same rhythm. If you want to keep, if that, is part of what you want. You also might not want to, right? It might be part of, harmonically, it's drastically different, and feel-wise, it might be like a, right? It might be something that you want to do differently, but make sure you can play it through with that groove, because that's one of the things you're wanting. Shouldn't be too hard. Yeah. Okay, simple solution here. Take the whole string of 4 chords and find at least 3 total, so 2 more ways you can play that string, but keep it as a kind of a vocabulary chunk. Don't sweat about, can I jump to all the F sharp half diminished chords? You can do that also like later, but that's where we get hung up. That's what we start doing and realize we'll never get to the gig, right? So like keep it together as 4 things strung together. Say, okay, here's one of my options, that. And, that sharp 11, you could play, I don't know if you're playing a certain voicing of that, or, just find a string of them that you really like the sound of together. What are you playing right now? Let's check it out. You got that? Okay. What do you think? You're F sharp, F7 sharp 9. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And then E7 sharp 9 as well. Yeah, good. And then A7 flat 13. Yeah, right. Awesome. So F sharp half diminished, then F7 sharp 9, E7 sharp 9, A7 sharp 5. Fantastic. Boom, that's that. Okay, find those exact, the string of chords off of the 4th string somewhere, right? Whether it's inversions, whether it's root position, doesn't matter, but have it feel slightly different, mainly that the top note is going to be different, right? So a great way to do this would be to, force yourself to learn like a new inversion of these 2 voicings. I'll just tell you what I'm thinking of it as. I'm thinking of F sharp half diminished with the flat 5 on the bottom. Love that voicing. Here's F sharp half diminished with the flat 3 on the bottom. I played it half step up before. Flat 5 on the bottom, flat 3 on the bottom. It takes a while to work out, so don't worry about doing it on the spot right now. This is one option. F sharp half diminished, F7 sharp 9, E7 sharp 9, A7 sharp 5. I'll show you those, and then your homework will be to slowly find at least one other, and then you have 3, and if you want to go above and beyond, get 4, and that's enough. That's fine. Okay. And someday later, the next evolution of that would be that you have 2 voicings per chord. So you got this, like if you did the F sharp half diminished, and then something like, I don't actually play inversions of the sharp 9 very often because it's so funky, but you could jump up to, that other voice. So just find 2. Right, so now I'm doing 2 per chord. Now it's like later, but right now you're just trying to find these other strings. So check this out. And just just move it there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, boom, that's your chord 1. That would be a cool, you have room there on that guitar. Okay, good. That's chord 1 for your other option. Good. Now I want you to play.
Okay.
That's the sharp 9. Up higher. That's it. Okay, really
That's
hard on
quite
that guitar.
tricky to play.
Yeah, but move down a half step from there. Whole thing down a half step for E7 sharp 9. Yeah, that was pretty decent. Good. And then here's your final chord. 11, 12, 12, 13. Yeah, that's your A7 sharp 5 with a 9 in it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So you got... It could be a nice color to get up there. Now, if that's too high, you might need to find alternatives, but I hope the process of showing you that, how drastically different would that sound to be able to jump to at the turnaround sometimes? You know what I mean? And yeah, you're arranging it, you're working it out. That's okay. Like, we want to do that. And then this feeling of being sick of how something sounds or doing the same thing all the time is like the most powerful, best thing we can encounter, because it's the drive to work out how hard it is to work out something new, right? So every time I feel that, I'm like, I did a video on this recently, actually. I was like, I was feeling really stale about my playing. I was like, this means that a breakthrough's around the corner, because I'm feeling this and it's going to force me to explore, how to expand on it. Instead of feeling like, I play the same thing all the time, I'm like, all right, let's get to work. Like, how can I twist this around, make it different? I can't recommend enough, just for the sake of comping, more inversions. More inversions, and one at a time, get comfortable with it, right? So maybe if you only ever play this for E flat major 7, that's a nice sound, but then if you can go to that even every once in a while, it's so nice. And then like, right, imagine, and it's like, there won't be a tune with that chord for that long, so just having a couple extra voicings is really powerful.
And I'm really glad, because when I was working on this song before and I felt stuck in just playing this thing over and over, right?
Yeah.
I wanted that kind of call and response sort of thing when the violin's having a short break in the melody, where I could do that like kind of thing like we did with the higher strings there.
Yes.
So that's perfect. That's exactly the type of thing that I'm looking for.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Just what comes to mind right now, because the variety is endless, which is what makes music so rewarding and what makes improvisation so rewarding. Just because the voicings are the same every time, and say you have a little package of 3 or 4 options of that run, you can still practice articulating them differently too. So you got that groove version, you got just the pure strum version, you got this kind of arpeggiating. That also drastically changes it. So that's kind of this right hand version of your variations. You have your left hand version of the different shapes. It's not only about shapes, right? It's about how we articulate it too. So then suddenly now we have this boom. We have like this the permutations of all the different options, like 10 different things you can do by just choosing a few other voicings and practicing some arpeggios. So just wanted to point that out as well. And to use it creatively in the moment. I've personally had that feeling of feeling like I'm faking it. I'm like, people are going to notice that I only just memorized this. And for some reason, and maybe this isn't for everybody, but I know it's common that we think that means we're not actually playing the instrument. And I don't think you didn't say that, but I just know people feel that imposter syndrome, right?
Stuff that I've thought.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. It was like, they don't know that I just memorized this. It's like, well, that's called practicing. You got it down. You are playing it. And so it's okay you don't have all the other options yet. Just go play the gig anyway, right? Or insert your thing that is kind of your goal, right? The recording, the writing, the jamming, the blah, like don't wait to do the real thing, because and you're doing it, obviously you're playing with people and you got that demo going, you got a gig from it and everything like that. So that's inspiring too, by the way. And also I'll say this for everyone watching, Alex shared with me a link of Alex playing with his group that he plays with to try to get gigs. And at this stage where he's feeling like, I'm just playing the same, I just memorized these chords in this order and I just do it the same every time, yet that's good enough. And now you have a weekly gig somewhere, right? It's like a bar or a restaurant or something.
Exactly.
And it's like amazing. Now you have that place to flex and stretch and rocket yourself forward. So I just wanted to share that to inspire anyone who's, trying to get that thing that feels like it's part of the real world. It's closer than you think, right? You can just memorize something that works and no one else knows the difference, right? people hear it as music. They're like, oh, cool, a band's
Yeah.
playing. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's great. So, so just wanted to say that. So thank you so much for bringing this to the table. I think this is very much an experimental, first time ever doing this experimental format, and I appreciate you coming on. I hope that is really valuable for people. I think my energy is different because I taught for so long that I can just jump into, oh, you actually need help with this? Let me help you. Whereas doing the videos on my own, I'm like, I hope somebody finds this helpful, So thank you.
Yeah,
So
of
thank you
course.
for doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's been such a pleasure, and I'm glad I could help with it. And just catching up and everything's been great too.
Awesome.
Nice.
Great. Well, we'll transition into the outro of the video here. So thanks again, Alex.
All right. Thanks, Jared.
I hope you found that helpful. In that part of that lesson, we talked about a shell voicing of that minor 7 chord. Shell voicings are a beautiful and simple way to be able to play any jazz chord with just a very small amount of shapes. And I have a free PDF called Any Jazz Chord. It's how to play any jazz chord with just 8 shapes, as few as 8 shapes, and you can double those by having 2 spots for them. And the PDF shows all the shapes and exactly how to interpret it. And I'll send you a video on how to work through it as well. You can get that for free with the link in the top of the description, or you can go to soundguitarlessons.com/any jazz chord if you want to make sure you have a go-to voicing. These are called shell voicings, a go-to simple and really great sounding voicing for any crazy looking jazz chord that comes up. I post a new lesson video every week. Hope to see you in another one soon. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. And before I sign off, please let me know if you appreciated this type of format. It's totally an experiment. If you like it, I will very likely do more. If it doesn't feel as good as the other videos, then I don't have to do more. So if you're willing to give me some feedback in the comments below, I would really appreciate that. So let me know. Thanks so much. See you soon. Take care.